Hey, it's Rob here. Welcome to November, and I've got the market update for you for the month of October 2025. And we're going to start today by doing something a little different. I'm going to read you this paragraph real fast. Inventory levels eased over the last month thanks to the combined impact of a monthly pullback in new listings and a monthly pickup in sales. So with 6,471 units in inventory and 1,885 sales, the October months of supply returned to 3.5 months after pushing up to 4 months in September. So while both row and apartment style properties continue to report elevated supply levels compared to demand, conditions remain relatively balanced for both detached and semi-detached properties. Now that came from Anne-Marie Laurie. That is Krebs' chief economist, and we're going to get into all the stats that kind of show what's going on with this. But before we get into this, I just want to give you a little bit of an understanding of what's going on, because a lot of the stats that we're looking at are, they're generalized for the whole Calgary market. So when we look at median price, we're looking at, the whole entire Calgary city market, and it when you look at it on paper, it doesn't actually look that bad. But there are some pockets that are not doing very well that you should be aware of. And these pockets do create opportunities. So I got a case study for you. We just recently helped a buyer work with a builder in Airdrie. And Airdrie is one of those markets right now where we're seeing prices dropping. And one of the biggest reasons they're dropping is because the builders are dropping. We've seen some significant price drops with builders. And we went in with our client, and not only did we get a property that had dropped significantly in price, we were able to successfully negotiate a better price with the builder and get them some upgrades, which our client wasn't even expecting. They were actually just grateful that they got that price. They didn't think we could actually even get a little bit more. But I've worked a lot with builders, so I know what we're doing, and I know that right at this very moment, it's towards the end of the year, there's some builders that really want to get some of these properties off their books. The market is a little slow. There's some real motivation there, and I've seen this before, so we were able to really take advantage of that. But it's also hurting the resale market too, because if you're a buyer right now and you go out to an area like Airdrie, depending on the property and depending on the area, you might actually be able to get a better deal going to the builder than looking for something in the resale market. So that's putting pressure on the houses in Airdrie. And it's not just Airdrie. I'm just giving that as one example. There's other pockets as well where the builders are located that the prices are really coming down, because like I said, there's some real motivation for some of these builders to move some of this product. And so it's giving some opportunity to buyers right now, and you can take advantage of that. But overall, you're going to see that the market, I'll say, ever so slightly improved. So let's get into some of the hard data here in just a moment. So let's start with this. We had 1,885 sales. That is down from October 2024, because we had 2,167. So that is a 13.01% decrease in sales. Not great, but not bad. And by the way, that is a typical October. If I was to go back a lot of years for volume sales, that is actually a typical October. So we're in line with a typical year. But where we are seeing that significant difference is in inventory, because last year we had 4,971. This year we have 6,471. So that is a 30% increase in inventory. So if you put the increased inventory in with the decreased sales, you can feel it, and that's really what is giving opportunities to some of these buyers. So some of the sellers out there that are very motivated are lowering their price. And I will tell you, if you want to be a successful seller, you have to look very, very carefully right now at your competition, ever so carefully, and you have to be aggressively priced in relation to that competition. or it's just very easy for buyers to pass you by because there's a lot of choice. You've got 6,471 listings. So our sales to new listings, 58.30%, where that was 66.41 just a year ago. And our sales to list price, because a lot of times people ask me, well, what are we getting for a deal? Well, right now, 97.43% of the asking price. But I want you to remember something. When you see this, there's been a lot of homes that had to reduce their price first before they sold. So they might have started, say, a house that started for $700,000, and say they reduced their price to $675,000, and then they ended up selling it for 97.43%. That's the 97.43% of the $675,000, not the $700,000 where they started. So that is not a fully accurate number. I would say if they tracked it from the original list price, that would actually come in lower right now. And our benchmark price for the month came in at $568. A year ago for the month of October, it came in at $592.5. So that is a significant drop as well. And I think what you'll also want to pay attention to is right over here. Our year-to-date sales are coming in at 20,082, and that is a 15.85% drop in where we were from 2024. So that is why we're feeling it. It is what I would consider to be a buyer's market. As I said last month, the bottom of the bucket hasn't fallen out, but it definitely is a buyer's market. There is great opportunities for buyers. Not only that, the interest rates are coming down too. It wasn't that long ago that in 2023, where we had what I call the FOMO, the fear of missing out. We had all these people just so fearful of missing out on an opportunity, and there was bidding wars and whatnot. But now we've got a certain percentage of people that are fear of getting in, called fogey. And there's a fear that maybe the market will keep going down, so why should I buy now? I can promise you can't time this market. For all we know, we're at the bottom right now. Things might level off. We could see an uptick in the new year, especially if interest rates come down. I mean, we could be looking at on a variable rate here pretty soon at 3.5%. That could bring a lot of people into the market, especially with the prices coming down. I don't think sometimes buyers always think about the impact of interest rates more than the price. They get very, very tunnel vision on price, but not necessarily the impact on those interest rates. And you put the two together, lower prices now, lower interest rate, it's a pretty good opportunity. So here's something I also track on this chart that you might find interesting. This is in the last 7 days. The Calgary and surrounding areas have had new listings of 1,288. We had 127 that came back on the market. So that means there was 127 properties that sold, and for whatever reason, they came back on the market, whether it was a failed inspection or maybe the buyer couldn't get financing. Price decreases, and this is what's interesting. This is why we're seeing, prices softening. 1,170. So almost as many houses that came on the market, we're seeing as many price reductions. We've only seen 37 price increases, which makes sense. 796 have sold in the last week. That's pending, conditionally sold, and then 886 have gone firm sale. 661 have expired. And that's significant to pay attention to. Same with withdrawal is 11, and 452 terminated. So when you see expired and terminated, generally speaking, these are sellers that have said, I give up, the market's not giving me what I want, and I'm going to give up and I'm going to pull out of the market. So with that many properties pulling out of the market, quite frankly, that's what also prevents us from seeing the bottom fall out of the bucket. We're seeing these price decreases, but there's a large percentage of sellers that say, you know what, if I can't get something reasonably close to what I feel my home is worth, I'm going to give up. So they don't sell, and they'll maybe wait for another opportunity down the road. but that keeps the prices a little bit more stable, because if every single seller kept decreasing to the point where a buyer would say, oh, that's a good enough deal, we would see really a lot of price softening. Like that would be a market collapse. But when you get a high percentage of people who would just say, well, I just give up, I'll try again next year, the year after, whatever, that just keeps the prices a little bit more solid. All right, let's do a deeper dive into the absorption rate. We're looking at detached houses. This month in October, we saw 34.74% of the houses that were listed sold. So 65% of the detached houses that were listed did not sell in the month of October. And but the good news is that's actually a bit of an uptick from September. So that's positive. We're heading in the right direction. And I have a sneaky suspicious feeling with the interest rates continuing to come down, that's going to play a role here in the coming months to come. That's going to be a little bit more positive. Our benchmark price, we finished at $744,400. And, that's actually down from October 24 by 1.24%. Nothing, huge that's going to be affecting the price points there. That's why I said to you earlier, when you talk about median price, it takes into account the whole area, and that doesn't count all of the pockets where there's even better opportunities. 1,012 out of 2,913. That's how many sold last month in Calgary for detached houses. An average of 37 days on the market. You can see most of these houses sold between $600,000 and $700,000. That's 25.41%. 20.34 were $700,000 to $800,000. So that's the sweet spot. It hasn't really changed much. 600 to 800 is where most people want to be for a detached house. But you can also see that luxury market, 1 million to 1.5 million, holding steady at 10% of the market for the whole year. Semi-detached, we're just touching the buyer's market at 30.34% absorption rate, also up from September. 683,100 was our benchmark price for the month. That's down 0.9% from October of 2024. If you come down here, 186 out of 613 sold. That is slightly up, although so is the inventory from the month previous in September. 39 days on the market on average it's taking. People always ask me how long does it take to sell. That gives you an idea. $500,000 to $600,000 is the sweet spot. That's 27.54% of the market. Interestingly enough, I'm going to comment on this luxury. 1 million to 1.5 million is 11.11% of the market. I'm currently working with a buyer looking to buy an infill, and I've actually shown about 25 of them now, all over the inner city. Marda Loop, Killarney, Glenbrook, West Hillhurst, all of the favorite communities that you'll see for infill. And I got to tell you, there is some beautiful infills out there, like really dressed up to the nines. But we've also seen some terrible infills, newer builds, but just the finish is really poor. You can tell by looking around, the builder just didn't do a very good job. So some of that inventory is going to sit there. I mean, you got that much choice. There's a lot of it that's not moving, but we have noticed just same scenario. If something is good, it's well priced, the quality is there, the floor plan is good, the location is good. We've seen some of them sell quickly. We actually missed one that they liked, but they waited a little too long. So think about that. If you're looking in the infill market, there is definitely some opportunity, and there's a lot of inventory that's coming in the next several months. As you drive around, you'll see how much construction there is. But you can be very fussy right now on which one you like, and I can tell you there's a good chance you're going to be able to beat the seller down on price too. Now we get into townhouses. It's getting a little worse here. It's hard to believe that a year ago or 2 years ago we were at 100% of those townhouses listed were selling. Now we're officially in a buyer's market at 26.09%. a benchmark price of $431. The bottom line is they just built a lot of these. There's so much inventory. 1,054 listed, only 275 have sold, an average of 50 days on the market. And you can see here, 400 to 400 or $500,000 is the sweet spot for these townhouses. It just drops right off once you go to $500,000 to $600,000. But like I said, there's a lot of them for sale. If you're looking for a townhouse, you've got you just have some really good choices. This inventory, trust me, will eventually get absorbed because there's a lot of first-time buyers that are going to come into the market, and for affordability, especially that real sweet spot of $400,000 to $500,000. A lot of these buyers will come into the market, and so many of them start with townhouses. So I am quite convinced that this inventory will get absorbed over time. But for now, maybe over the winter months, great opportunity to buy some of these. Apartment condos, not a great picture, 21.79%. We just don't have enough demand to meet the supply when it comes to these. It just means if you're selling one of these, unfortunately, you're going to have to be very aggressive on the price and make sure that your place looks its best. I know I'm trying to sell one right now in Copperfield, and it hasn't been moving at the moment. But we've made some changes inside, put new flooring in, backsplash, just dressed it up and got aggressive on the price. Still haven't found a buyer just yet, but really good value. There's great opportunities if you're a buyer, but if you're a seller, unfortunately, you're going to have to get aggressive on the price and really make sure your condo looks its best. 318, 200,000. That's the benchmark price, and that's actually down 6% from last year, and that's significant. We come here 412 out of 1891, so you can see just a lot of supply here, and the demand just isn't quite there. And that's it's not looking great coming into the winter months. And if you drive around the city of Calgary, you see that there's more condos even coming on. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to meet all the demand unless we see some more immigration coming into Calgary, and hopefully we do. And they tend to be, starting out either renting those or buying them and taking some of that inventory and making use of it. And we're going to need that to happen. Otherwise, this condo market is definitely maybe going to see more of a correction on price. Hopefully, if you're a seller or you own one, that doesn't happen. But again, if you flip the coin, if you're a buyer, there's opportunity here. 52 days on the market, and you can see the bulk of it. I mean, we're talking, over 70% of the condos are that people buy are under $400,000 for the city of Calgary. I'm just going to leave you with a shameless plug-in for this program that we have, but it is working good. We have a partnership with a company in Edmonton, which allows us to do a cash offer with a profit share. So the program is pretty simple. We establish realistically what your house would sell for. A cash offer is made based on that price. When they buy it, if they end up selling it and exceeding that price that we gave you, they'll actually share in the profit. It's a pretty good program, as I said, for people who may be in a situation where you need a quick sale for whatever. We just had a client that was moving to Nova Scotia. They found a phenomenal property there. They didn't want to lose it. They couldn't wait for an offer in their house. They took the cash offer. Situations like that can really work. Maybe a divorce, maybe there's some financial stress going on. If you have to get out of the property quick, this is a viable option to consider. And don't forget also about our revitalization program. To be in a competitive market like we're in, carpet, paint, some repairs can go a long way to get your house to stand out in a competitive market like this. We have a program where we can do that for you, collect the cost of that when the house sells. All you have to do is just reach out to me and I'll give you all the info. So have a fantastic November. Let's all remember Remembrance Day coming up. Very significant time of year to remember those that have fallen, and something that's near and dear to me because my family is from Holland. So we really do take November 11th as a really serious date to reflect. So hopefully all of you will do the same, and we'll see you next month.